Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AskReddit. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. What was your "that was fun, let's never do that again" moment? Being lost at night in a new city. Honestly surprised why I wasn't mugged. Terrifying experiences make for great stories. Nobody wants to hear about that time you saw the big city, and it was pretty, but get lost in that same city, skirt with danger, and suddenly you're living a life people envy. I went to bed early that night. One of my best friends jumped out of a moving car going about 30 miles per hour. When we went back for him and asked WTH, he said he read that Jim Morrison used to do that, and he wanted to see what it was like. We asked him what it was like and he said, "Well, I'm not going to do it again." Love his answer. Fantastic, glad he was okay. Did you point out that Morrison, although a fabulous musician, died young of a probable accidental overdose, and therefore may not be the finest role model for day-to-day activities? One Halloween weekend, 6 bars, 4 house parties, 3 liquor runs, walked everywhere because we were responsible, in no condition to drive, and this was long before Uber. Similar experience, it was super fun. Not in college anymore, so can't really do it again, but what if I could? Why wouldn't you? You know, before Uber existed we had these things called taxis which had pretty much the same function. Crazy, right? Met a girl for a few drinks, ended up with her back at my hotel room. She threatened me with a knife if I didn't do the deed without a condom. Didn't take much convincing, so I complied. I woke up the next morning with her sitting on the floor making a card for me with letters cut out from the newspaper spelling out how much she loved me. I managed to convince her to leave, then I packed up my shit in about 30 seconds, checked out of the hotel, and got out of the city. 2 weeks later I got a text message from her saying she was preggers. I replied saying there's no way it could be me if it was only 2 weeks. Never heard from her again. Jesus. This sounds like sexual assault? Oh, I got a few. Got chased by a bull that had broken out of a paddock nearby and only managed to not get gored to death because my friend's neighbor, who never ever takes his boat home from the docks, decided to take it home to clean it, so I had something tall to quickly climb. I was 12. Almost falling of a cliff because my dad thought it would be a good idea to climb a near vertical rock face / portion of the mountain we were on without any proper equipment. I was 7. Jumping of a jetty into fever of migrating stingrays and, not dying. I was 7. Rolling down a 45-degree hill in a stroller, with parents chasing after me, and traveling a good 50 meters before flipping over into a nearby field and only surviving because the old dude that lived there decided not to cut his grass that season so he could give it to the previously mentioned cow farmer later that year. I was 3. Drinking an entire 700 milliliters bottle of 40% vodka and another half bottle of a 1 liter bottle of 50% vodka while on levers, Australian spring break I guess, and ending up in emergency with no memory of what had occurred since 6 p.m. the night before. I was 17. I could keep going, but now my memories of that time I almost had a 6-foot-tall kangaroo go through my windshield in the middle of the fucking Australia suburbs has returned, and I need a drink to forget it again. Getting wasted. Every time I wake up hungover I tell myself I'll never do it again. It rarely lasts more than a few months. Former sorority girl boozer here. Alcoholism happens. Be careful. I've kicked it, but it was not an easy or fun road. Get out before it gets to that point, take it from me. Every time I drink I always finish with a couple liters of water before I sleep. Haven't had a hangover in ages. Cocaine? It was fun while it lasted, but coming off the high was terrible, and I can see myself getting addicted since it turned me into the person I always wished I could be. You would definitely get addicted, and then it would turn you into the person you've never wanted to be. Cigarette. I tried cigarettes for the first time after my mom admitted to trying cigarettes in her youth once despite hating that my dad smoked for a while, stopped when I became a possibility, and hating that my grandpa smoked. I was that kind of shit mood where if it was going to hook me, it would have hooked me I think, but I took a breath, thought it was absolutely disgusting, and handed it back to my friend and cried instead. LMAO. At least you stopped? When I was young growing up in Southeast Asia, my parents would take me everywhere with them while traveling overseas. On most of these trips I would get some independent exploring time in relatively safe zones close to the hotels we were staying at. One time we were in Pattaya, Thailand, think red light district / Vegas of Thailand, and while they were at an adult show, because it's what you do when in Pattaya, they gave me permission to go exploring again. I bought myself some street snacks and started walking down some random fun-looking partying street. The further I went, the more adult the entertainment got until I reached a bar where the girls were dancing on poles and stripping at the front entrance of the bars, essentially out on the street. These girls also looked incredibly young. Little 10-year-old me, female, also Southeast Asian, immediately had a bad feeling in my gut, turned 180 and headed straight to the hotel, spending the rest of the night locked in the hotel room. Until this day I still think that had I not turned back when I did, my life could have been very different by now, that is if I was to be alive still. One time I did no FAP for too long and ended up shoving a broomstick up my ass. Enough internet for today. Okay, so it's 11:50 p.m., and I just laughed at a freakish volume. My brother and like 5 of his friends are in the basement, my mom is asleep in her room, and I'm on the top floor. However, sound echoes in this house, so if she mentions it to me tomorrow, I will deny everything. Rolling my truck. It was surreal. I'm glad I got to experience that and come out unharmed. I'd started spinning on an icy road and couldn't correct it. There were no other cars around and I wasn't going very fast, so I hoped I would come to a stop eventually. It turned sideways towards a field. Okay, not a big deal, I'll end up in a field. It turned the other way and all I could see was a telephone pole. Before I could even think, fuck, I'm hitting this pole, my airbag hit me and everything went dark. I felt the truck turn over and junk from my cab start rattling around. I'm rolling, I didn't hit that tree. It seemed like I was rolling forever. It came to a stop, I pushed the airbag off of me and checked my face for pain. I unbuckled and stood up, and crawled out the smashed passenger window and crouched there until the smoke cleared. I climbed back in to get my phone and to turn off the radio, it was blaring CCR still. The pole I was supposed to hit had paint and grass on it, I came that close. Nosing into the ditch overturned me. My tires grazed the pole. This happened 100 m from my house. So frustrating, so close. I miss my truck, but holy shit that was cool. Missing an international flight back home, which allowed us to inadvertently extend our vacation. Would have rather just gone home and not spend more money. Trying LSD with my best friend in college. What an intense, interesting experience. We laughed, we had deep conversations, everything looked and felt different. I'm glad I did it, it really was something else, but never again, thanks, but I enjoy my regular perception of the world. Same. I have never understood how people can use LSD recreationally on a regular basis. To be fair, I've never met anyone who seemed normal who has. Doing 240 km/h on a motorcycle. Fuck you. From everyone else on the road. In the early 80s I passed my parents on the Schuylkill Expressway on my Ducati. Mom can spot extremely rare orange blurs. I like jumping into my bed. One day I jumped feet first, causing my big toe to dislocate. I spent a panicked minute snapping it back into place. The adrenaline was already pumping, so I didn't feel anything. After that day I walked into bed like a normal human. My mom dislocates her toes every 7 seconds. So we have to pop them back in. It is not fun. Trying to eat a whole spoon of cinnamon. My dad heard once that taking cinnamon every day was good for you. Most people who believe this would buy cinnamon pills, but my dad was too cheap for that. Instead he took our big bottle of cinnamon, poured it into a tablespoon, praised his own cleverness, and shoved the spoon in his mouth. He sputtered and coughed and suffered, while my mom and I stared at him going, well fucking DUH. And that is the story of how my dad participated in the cinnamon challenge a good decade before it was cool. Haha. I did that too and regretted it instantly. Then again, I was like 10, so almost everything I did was stupid. I mean, if I was going to do a challenge, then why not do that ice bucket one that helped AIDS victims? At least that one helped people. The cinnamon one just hurt. Trying to fit my entire body through the columns of the stair rail. I got stuck around the waist while home alone and ended up being like that for a couple hours like an idiot. Another good one was when someone bet me that I couldn't fit into a locker. I did, and they proceeded to slam it shut, and I was stuck for 30 minutes before someone let me out. Moral of the stories: don't try to fit into small spaces. Driving down the highway with 5 grown men in a VW Jetta going 110 miles per hour into the city. Things like that are way more enjoyable when you're young. Got lost in the desert with a buddy, and one flashlight between the both of us. We realized we were going around in circles when we noticed the same tree branch, but couldn't figure out where we parked the truck. Moon didn't give off much light, pitch black aside from our wimpy flashlight. Miraculously found the truck really late in the middle of the night. Jump in the flooded stream after the hurricane. About 1.5 miles later we got out where all the dead cows were mixed up with the fencing and trees. Me and 2 other friends were at the casino. Me and one friend took a tab of acid each, and our other friend vouched to trip sit and drive us home. We won a bit of money at the casino, couple hundred each, and we agreed that our minds were starting to get really dark, as expected, so we asked our other friend to drive home. On the drive home we felt like we were in a spaceship, so we wanted to stay out driving a little longer. We pulled down a country lane and ended up near a farm of solar panels. As we were driving out, our friend driving wanted to scare us a little by turning his lights off so it went completely pitch black. When he turned them on again, there was a cop car stopped right in front of us. Our driver friend was on learner plates, and I had a sheet of acid and a ½ ounce of weed in my jacket pocket, so this was an absolute disaster for everyone. My friend in front let out a no oh fuck, and my learner plated friend slammed his foot on the accelerator and did 100 miles per hour on a 30 miles per hour road for 45 seconds till we made it back to their house, where we pulled into the driveway and turned off the lights. 5 seconds later we saw blue flashing light speed past the house and watched the reflection fade away on the side of a tree. It was one of the greatest yet most stupidest moments of our lives. My pica got way out of hand and I ate one of those pocket travel packs of tissues. The full thing, just opened it up and started eating. I finished with the wrapper on it. By the way, pica is a psychological eating disorder that involves the eating of things that aren't food, such as ice, dirt, paper, etc. It tends to show up in pregnant women and people with iron-deficient anemia. I have iron deficiency anemia. In fact, I'm eating ice right now. The paper thing passed quickly, so now if I eat paper it's maybe the stick of a sucker or like a napkin or something. Ice, however. 2 to 3 full cups of crushed ice a day is the usual. If I don't have any ice in a day, I start craving it to the point where I can't think of anything but the ice dispenser. Do iron supplements not work for you? Was on a tandem call with a coworker. He's up in the attic taking care of some mice. I'm on the main level taking care of a small infestation of roaches. If you're unaware, attics either have floors, or they have small wooden beams. This particular attic had a floored area surrounding the opening, but it only went out about 3 feet. The insulation was covering just enough of the dimly lit area that he assumed the whole attic was floored. Now, he was a big guy. About 6 feet 2 inches and somewhere between 350 to 500 pounds, for obvious reasons, I never asked the guy. Needless to say, there was a very brief creaking sound followed by a very loud thud, with the accompanying audible after showers of dust, insulation and pieces of plaster, probably, still raining down on this poor guy's head. Luckily, the homeowner was very understanding and alluded to a similar situation he had had. It probably helped that the company called him immediately and promised they'd be footing the bill for repairs as well as any items damaged. My coworker was miraculously uninjured as well. Anyways, I had a good laugh with him afterwards, but then we both agreed to never mention it again. Fisting. Please, do tell. Were you the fister or the fistee? Holding on to the fence at Juliana Airport on the island of St. Martin while a 4-engine jet plane is throttling to full power taking off. I figure you were behind the plane? Was it the noise? One time I was in a shopping district in Shanghai with a tour group for a student exchange thing in my early 20s. We had some free time to go shopping, when suddenly, me and a friend are approached by this woman who asked us if we were interested in buying luxury goods. My friend then replied with no, but we are looking for some very convincing knockoffs. Do you know we can get any? The woman then smiled and said, oh, but of course, could you follow me to my store? We had about 3 hours free for shopping, so we said, why not, sure. We then start following her to her shop. 5 minutes go by and we still aren't there. Another 5 minutes go by and we still aren't there. She then says something like we have to turn down this quiet alleyway. Is that fine with you? At this point we are already 10 minutes into walking away from the group, and we were just like, fuck it, yes it is fine. After walking another 10 minutes down this fairly quiet side street, we get to these stairs that lead underground. At the bottom of the stairs is a big metal door. Again, she is casually just like, this way please. She knocks 3 times on the door and it opens. Before we walk in we decide, hey, maybe we should first look inside. And it is indeed a store full of knockoff goods with a few other people inside. So we decide, well, we have already made it this far, so we decided to go in. Once we enter the shop, we hear the door close behind us. And there are these 2 fairly muscly guys who are standing against the wall, but we don't really think anything of this, because the woman is telling us to look around and see if we find anything we like. After about 20 minutes of look, me and my friend do not really see anything we like, so we go up to the woman, who at this point is behind the counter, and my friend just asks, excuse me, so what happens if we don't find anything we like? She just replied with, oh, don't worry, my shop is full of all sorts of goods. I am sure you can find something you like here, especially if you want to make it back to your group on time. We, reasonably I might add, finally realize, hey, maybe we have really gotten ourselves into a pickle. It is at this point that we now notice that all the other customers are watching us while we're talking to her, so me and my friend go back to looking around. Eventually, we both find something we like that is not insanely expensive. However, each item was still close to 1,001, so we go up to her again, this time with the items. We pay for them in cash, and just like that, the 2 guys who were standing in front of the door before, open the door, and she gives us directions for how to get back to our group. And that is how I almost got kidnapped in China during a student abroad program. Moral of the story, you really shouldn't follow random strangers down back alleyways. To be clear, in the end, I loved that trip to China, and I have gone a few more times after that trip, but just like any big city, there are dangerous parts that you really should stay away from. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.